Hey guys, it is Melissa and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa Ellen and I do these true crime videos. So my intention is to help raise awareness on missing persons, unsolved cases, and things along those lines. Today, I have two things for you guys. We are going to do an update on the Bakersfield 3, and then we are also going to talk about a new case, which is actually a cold case of Melanie Metheny, and she went missing in 2006 and absolutely no answers as to where she disappeared to. So we're going to talk about both of those cases. I do have a request for you guys before we get started, and then I will timestamp where each case is going to start in case you want to skip ahead at any time. I am working on a series about missing Indigenous women. I've got a lot of, that's the problem. I'm going in too many directions, and it's not that this isn't something I'm aware of and something I haven't looked at before, but the reason I've shied away is lack of knowledge. Lack of direction and feeling incredibly overwhelmed to take on something this big and try to present it in a way that could actually be helpful and that you could share with your friends and family and help get the word out, because it's a problem. I know you guys have heard this phrase, missing Indigenous women, and I thought a long time ago that it was just a phrase for, missing Indigenous women. No, it's a big, big, big problem. There are women just going missing at an alarming rate with absolutely no answers. Something's wrong and I would like to help, but this is one that I don't think I can do on my own. I don't know enough. I don't know the references. I don't know what I don't know. And so I'm looking for your guys' help. I've got a couple of people that have emailed me. I have a Facebook group that is only for stuff like this. Like, we don't do a lot of drama. There's not a lot of conversation there. We just focus on a couple of cases at a time. And I would encourage you guys to join that group. I will link it down below for you if you want to join that group and help me. I would appreciate it. I think it would do something, and we have a message to share. I just want to do it right. So thank you guys for that. So first, we're going to talk about the Bakersfield 3. I did a video on this in September of 2019, went over the whole case, and major updates. And then we're going to talk about Melanie Metheny, who went missing again in 2006. So thank you guys so much for being here, and let's jump right into the video. Okay, so the Bakersfield 3 was a video that I did in September. It's got a lot of information, and it was actually pretty decently. I always pick on myself. Like, I can pick apart every mistake I might have made, but it's actually really good. So I will make sure I post that video for you guys. You can watch that as well. Quick rundown of what happened. So originally on March 23rd of 2018, a man by the name of Michael Holzenbake went missing. And then a couple weeks later, in Kolstad was shot and killed outside of a house on April 8th of 2018. Now, Micah's mom and mom ended up chatting with each other because they knew each other. They might not have been like the best of friends, but they knew each other. They ran in the same circle. And of course, the moms were thinking, I don't know who shot my son, and I don't know why my son's missing. I wonder if this could all be linked together. They start talking with each other, and then a couple weeks later, on April 25th of 2018, so this is all within about a month, okay, a girl by the name of Bailey Despot goes missing. And that's when they add her case to their 3, and that's when they become the Bakersfield 3. There was a lot more to get to that point with convincing police and everything that had to happen to bring their cases together. So at this point, all we knew is that we had 3 people who were associated with each other and running in the same circle that things were happening to. We found that the circle that they were running in was involved in drugs. They were selling drugs, manufacturing weapons, and a lot of really shady dark side things were happening, and these people were all involved. For the sake of getting through this, so I don't repeat information if you guys already know this, Micah and James were both older. Bailey was only 20 years old. The 2 older gentlemen had made some changes in their life that had gotten them into this lifestyle. Life for them originally was doing well, but due to surgeries, accidents, things that were going on with their health, they had to have some treatment, and they got onto prescription drugs, which led them onto the road of getting onto street drugs, which then led them onto the road of getting involved in this lifestyle. That's a summed up version. Obviously, this took place over time, and I do have complete compassion for what they were going through, but this is where their life did end up, and they were involved in this circle. Micah had actually told his parents in the past he had been kidnapped by someone and held hostage for information. He was very, very paranoid, and completely wasn't the same person he used to be. He was a banker, he was in the military, like he was going places in life, and suddenly he's paranoid, not acting like himself, telling his parents that he's been kidnapped and that people are following him. So when Micah disappeared, they weren't sure what had happened. Did something actually happen to him, like he had been saying was going to happen? Or had he just taken off as a result of everything that was going on and he wasn't in a good headspace? Micah was murdered, okay? Micah's arm was found in the Kern River in August of 2018. In December, DNA testing did prove that it was Micah's arm. Based on the arm, we have not been given the manner of death, but based on the arm, police did classify his death as a homicide. So it is presumed that he is not alive and the rest of his body has not been found. James, we're going to do James really quick. James was actually shot in a drive-by, but this isn't an area of town that gets a drive-by. I think in my original video, I said it happened in Rosedale. It did not happen in the area of Rosedale of Bakersfield. It happened in the southwest area of Bakersfield. Nice area, nice regular suburban housing area. This isn't an area that has problems. It's completely unlikely that you would hear that somebody got shot in a drive-by in this area. What actually happened was James's brother, Ryan Kolstad, was at a chiropractor's house. This chiropractor has since lost his license and been fired and in a whole world of legal trouble for drugs and weapons and so forth. So he's at this chiropractor's house and the chiropractor says, hey, your brother James is calling me wanting to come and collect money. And Ryan's like, yeah, I don't really know. I don't really talk to my brother right now. I don't want to be involved in it. The chiropractor tells Ryan, well, you better tell your brother that if he shows up here, my boys are coming strapped. I don't know why this chiropractor isn't in more trouble, and I don't know why we're not talking about his name, but I noticed that the newspapers aren't saying his name, and I just don't understand that one. So this chiropractor says this. Ryan thinks that he's just kind of pounding his chest and just making open threats and apparently does not take it seriously. Ryan then ends up taking someone home and is leaving. As he's leaving this neighborhood, he sees his brother James arriving. He assumes his brother's going to make a U-turn and follow him because they saw each other. But instead, as he's still exiting because he can't turn around yet, he hears a gunshot. They circle back around and he finds that his brother has been shot in front of this house. And he doesn't know who shot his brother. I leave that alone because you do have the family. Obviously, they are trying to figure out what's going on, but Ryan says he honestly doesn't know who did it. And if he did, he would have taken care of himself or he would have already reported it, but he really honestly doesn't know who shot his brother. I can tell you who knows, and it's probably in this circle of people. There were people there. They know who did it, and they just will not say who did this. What does this have to do with Micah? I don't think that it's directly linked. Like, I don't think that James was shot because Micah was missing, and I don't think Micah went missing because James was going to get shot, but it's all encompassing in what's going on. We're going to cover that in just a second. What was going on in this ring of people and what they were doing. It's their lifestyle that they were participating in a drug and gun lifestyle, because there's all kinds of that lifestyle around town. They were all running together. And then Bailey goes missing. Okay, so how does Bailey fit in? Well, Bailey was friends with them. Bailey hung out with Micah. Bailey had gotten in trouble for a drunk in public, and it's reported that it was even in front of Micah's house. They're all friends. They're all running in the same circle of people and all participating in the same things. Bailey had been arrested while in the vehicle with her then boyfriend, Matthew Queen. He's a lovely feller. We'll talk about him in a second. She was in the car with him. They had unmarked guns in the car. She ends up getting arrested. He ends up getting arrested. Bailey wasn't making good choices. She was in that area of her life where she was kind of flightless and kind of lost and kind of making some mistakes. But she was not at the point where, it did not seem like she was at the point where she ended up going missing. And we found out participating. In May of 2020, Bailey Despot was charged. Her and her boyfriend, Matt Queen, and a third party were responsible for the death and disappearance of Micah Holsenbake. Hard to take, okay? This was completely unexpected. I think it came out on May 27th. Absolutely no one expected this. I had never even crossed my mind that Bailey could have been responsible for what happened to Micah. I thought that she knew what happened to Micah, but it appears that she was involved. The prosecutor, Cynthia Zimmerman, came forward and said that there was corroborating evidence that Matthew Queen and Bailey Despot had kidnapped Michael Holzenbake and were holding him and took him to the apartment of a man by the name of Matthew Vander Castile. And they went to this apartment that was located on North Half Moon. I'm going to put this up for you guys because I want you to understand something that is just absolutely crazy about this. This is literally not that far from me. And this is like an apartment. So you have this row of North Half Moon, and they have these like apartments that aren't 2-story. They're not all connected, but they're like little apartment, like little studio houses, but they have multiple bedrooms in them. I always wonder if you guys are in different areas, like what you guys call everything. So I just try to explain it a little bit more. So these little house apartments have little detached garages. Apparently, Matthew Vander Castile let Matthew Queen and Bailey Despot use his garage to kidnap and torture and harm Michael Holzenbake in this little garage in an alley right next to other houses and other things. Like, this is truly sad. Apparently, Matthew Queen and Bailey had zip-tied Micah. And then so far what we know is that Bailey had went back into the apartment and retrieved a knife and then brought it back out. That's as far as we know so far into what actually happened to Micah inside of that garage. The rest will come out in time. Also, afterwards, it is reported that either Matthew Queen or Matthew Vander Castile looked up how to dissolve a body. This is truly a sad story. When I tell you the mothers of the Bakersfield 3 came together. These women have been fighting and doing fundraisers, doing awareness, doing interviews. They have done everything. They have appeared on multiple TV shows. One of the things that they had just done prior to this release from the police department, that they were actually going to be charging Bailey and Matthew Queen with the murder of Micah. They had just had a golf tournament where they raised money, and they were able to donate money to purchase a sonar device for the Kern County Sheriff's Department. This is obviously an attempt to search for these rivers to find the rest of the remains of Micah, to possibly find Bailey. There is no word on what happened to Bailey. It is so possible that they harmed her, okay? That Matthew Queen and maybe Matthew Vander Castile, I don't know a lot about him yet. He is being held in another jurisdiction. There's a lot of talk that maybe he's the one who originally turned and ratted what happened. Who knows? That hasn't absolutely been released yet. There's also the possibility that Bailey is hiding on her own accord because she knew she was involved. There's also the possibility that she was put somewhere to silence her. There's always the possibility that because they know that Bailey can't return, that they're turning this on her to put blame on her. There are so many possibilities. What I do know is that the 3 moms are coming together, and they, no matter what, are not turning their backs on each other, and they are there to help each other. They didn't do what happened to any of their children, and so they love each other. They are still completely shocked that Bailey could be involved, and they are willing to stay open until the answers come and until Bailey is found. And either she comes forward and answers what really happened, or we find out what happened to her and then we piece it together. It's truly a sad situation. And I can literally tell you the city of Bakersfield was completely shocked when the news hit and the comments were like, wait, are you guys confused? No, I think you're saying the wrong names. Everyone really thought that they were making an error in reporting. And it was like, no, Bailey's really been charged. They've actually been charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, torture, and conspiracy to cover up a crime. So if you have any information or you know anyone does, there is the secret witness number that you can call in, and that is 661-322-4040. And I encourage you to check out the Bakersfield 3. They have an amazing Facebook support group. They're out there. They're really trying to make the best out of this and to find answers and justice and be understanding of each other no matter what comes out of this case. I will say, as I said in my last video, I am still shocked. A gun manufacturing ring in Bakersfield, It's out there though, guys. This is what's happening. Okay, so that was my quick update on the Bakersfield 3. And now I have a new case for you guys. I want to talk to you about a mom who went missing in 2006, and her name is Melanie Metheny. And she has literally vanished into thin air. And when I tell you her story, the chances of her running away and leaving behind her 3 children, not a chance in the world. Suspect-wise, I don't know. It seems that there might have been some theories about who could have done it, and then it just kind of sits cold as far as theories. I've tried to look into the family's Facebooks, into their justice group that they have. Absolutely. The theories are very thin on what might have happened. So I want to throw this out to you guys because a lot of you are really aware of cases in different cities and possible trends that could have been going on, just all those things out there that you guys seem to come up with. And I want to throw this one out to you guys and see if you guys have any theories on what could have happened to Melanie. So Melanie was actually born on June 21st of 1985. And her parents were Debbie and Jimmy Metheny. She grew up in Bell in West Virginia, which is east of Charleston, West Virginia. She went to Riverside High School, and she had dreams of becoming a nurse. Now, I will tell you, at 16, she had her first son, and there's a beautiful letter that she had written before she disappeared. I'm going to put a reading of that at the end of this video for you guys. It's very beautiful. It's lovely to see a mom's thoughts when she thinks nobody's listening, and just the things she wrote down about her children and how much she loved and adored them. But the one thing she said was her son Ryan, which was the oldest. I think he's about 4 when she disappeared. And she talks about that when she saw him, she knew how to be a mom. That was when she found her purpose, and that she was scared and overwhelmed. But when she saw him, she knew exactly what to do. Now, she had him, and his father was a man by the name of Michael. And then she ended up dating a guy by the name of Matt. And they had 2 children, and that was Nathan. And I believe he was 2 or 3. And then Hannah, who was just a little over 1 when she disappeared. So she was 20 years old. She has 3 children, and they are her world. She's absolutely loves them, took very good care of them, and was very involved in everything going on with them. She did have support. Both of the fathers were involved in their children's life. And then she also had her grandparents, her parents. She had a lot of support and love to help take care of her children being so young. Now, at the beginning of 2006, she's not in high school anymore, but she's going through the Career Center to figure out and get her GED, and everything's taken care of. And in fact, when she went missing that day, she was going to pick up her transcript because on August 2nd, she was going to be starting at the West Virginia State University. She wanted to be a nurse. She had 3 kids. She was a young mom. It wasn't going to stop her. She got her credit. She got her credentials in order. And that's what her plan was. She was going to be starting college on August 2nd and before she goes missing. Living arrangements, just so we have kind of a clear idea, because this does come into play. She was living 2 places. In March, before she disappeared, she had actually started living part-time with her boyfriend, a man by the name of Jared. So she's staying with Jared part-time. He has a young daughter by the name of Harley. And then when she's not staying there, she's staying at the house that she had lived in prior, which was with her brothers and sister. So she's going back and forth part-time between the 2. They're only about 15 to 20 minutes apart, but she wasn't living full-time with Jared yet. We'll go ahead and start with the last time she was seen by her own family, and this is going to be on July 18th of 2006. Her grandmother, Sandra, had actually dropped Nathan and Hannah back off to her. So Ryan had been staying with his dad, and Hannah and Nathan had spent the night with their grandma and came back the next morning. They have a brief conversation. Everything is totally fine, and now she has the kids with her. According to Jared, everything is completely normal that night. They're hanging out at home. They go to bed. He gets up and gets ready for work, and the last time he sees Melanie is at 7:30 in the morning on July 19th of 2006 when he leaves for work. Melanie tells him that her plans for that day were to drop the kids at daycare, and then she was going to be picking up her transcript and taking it to the college so that she could finish her registration. Let me actually add this because I was going to add it to the end, but let's do it now so it's kind of in order. So that day prior, okay, so we know that morning she's going to go get her transcript, but let's talk that day prior really quick. We know that she ended up back at home. She ended up back at home. She stayed the night at home, and she got up in the morning, and her and Jared talked in the morning, and then she was taking off. But that day prior, I want to give you this information because it's interesting that it doesn't add up, but also we know she didn't disappear that day, so I don't know what it means. On July 18th, the day prior, Melanie supposedly hung out with her sister and her sister's friend. They ended up going to a local park, and then they ended up going back to the sister's house, the one that Melanie stayed at, half and half. And then her sister's boyfriend ended up hanging out with them. And then at some point in time, supposedly Melanie was asking her sister some information about a travel she needed to take, but then nobody else knew what that was about. And then they ended up back at Melanie's residence. This little thing, like, it's really not important, but maybe important. So I just don't want to leave it out because there's just so many comments about it, but I'm not really sure what the hang up was. And I think that it might have been a hang up originally, and now there's just remnants of it because I can't see that there's still a lack of clarification on the day prior or what value that might have had. It's just that it still keeps getting mentioned in comments. I'm not really sure what it's in regard to. So I'm just going to throw that out for you, that there might have been some weird inconsistencies with just knowing what they did the day prior. Let me also mention this. Melanie was not known to have like any problems with alcohol or drugs, but she was known to socially drink and socially use recreational drugs. So it always makes me wonder, anytime people don't want to piece their day together, that there might have been the use of something illegal, and that people tend to not want to keep their story straight because they're always worried they're going to get in trouble. That's the only thing I could kind of piece together. Pure speculation on that little side note. Okay, so returning back to July 19th, the day that she actually goes missing, we have another bit of inconsistency in how that morning went. According to witnesses, they saw Melanie drop her two children, Nathan and Hannah, off at the Country Kid daycare. Witnesses said they saw 3 kids in the car. Now, that would mean she had Harley with her, which is her boyfriend's 9-year-old daughter. According to Harley, who was a kid, she was dropped off at her grandma's first. One or the other. It was reported that Melanie dropped Harley off at the grandma's house and then dropped the kids off at daycare. Some people say, no, that's not correct. She dropped the kids off at the daycare and then she dropped Harley off. We're talking children. I'm not really sure. I mean, it just changes the direction. They're about 15 miles apart, so it just changes a little bit of a direction of where she might have been going at the time, but I'm not really sure if it has anything to do with why she disappeared. The children are dropped off at the daycare around 8 a.m. When she does drop them off, the daycare workers said that Melanie was very specific that she would be back around noon to pick up the children, and she was on her way to get her transcript and then go drop it off at the college. When she dropped Harley off at the grandmother's house, the grandmother said that mentioned the same thing, that she was going to get her transcript and drop it off at the college. At around 9 o'clock, Melanie did make a phone call from her cell phone, and it was to an auto place. She needed to get some work done on her van, and she had a preset appointment, and she was calling to confirm that appointment. The woman on the other end of the line said it absolutely sounded like Melanie. She was confirming her own appointment, and everything seemed totally fine. At 9:30 a.m., her voicemail is checked, and that is the last of any information on where Melanie is. The family begins searching for her. At 6 o'clock, the paternal grandmother of Hannah and Nathan receives a phone call from the Country Kid daycare saying that Melanie had not returned to pick up her children. That paternal grandmother immediately phones Melanie's family, who immediately knows something's wrong and are out looking, phoning the police. This is not like her. This doesn't make any sense. She would be there to pick up her children. The official timeline by police is that she left her apartment at 7:30. She had her 2 kids and the boyfriend's daughter. She went the first stop, which was 5 minutes away, and dropped the boyfriend's daughter off with his mother. And then she went 10 miles east on the 60 towards Bell. And then that's when she dropped the kids off at 8 a.m., said she'd be back by noon. And then at 9 a.m., she made the phone call. So the only thing that is always been in question is whether or not she dropped Harley off first or she dropped the kids off first. It seems that she would drop Harley off because it was first, and then she would have dropped the kids off. Now, there was a weird sighting of a woman that day. It is very hard to tell whether or not it was Melanie. Now, her ex, Matt, was one of the people to see this interaction with a woman as well as someone else. It was far away from him, so it is possible that he would not have known right away that it was Melanie because of the way the situation was happening. So him and someone else reported. He was working at the Air Gas on Oregon Street, and he was standing outside to have a smoke break. And he said that he saw a blonde woman being forcibly pushed into or pulled back into a car. Someone else reported seeing the same thing, and they heard this woman say, "What about my babies?" This person was being forced in or out of a red SUV, and they were only able to get partial plates. It looked like it was a red Ford Explorer, and they could never locate this vehicle, this woman, or anything to figure out what had happened. It could be related. It is weird that Matt wouldn't have known, like, hey, that's Melanie, even by voice or anything. But it was a far enough away that it was a weird interaction, and they just didn't know what was going on, and nobody knew Melanie was missing at this point. Now, she went missing on July 19th. Her vehicle was not found until July 23rd. It was a 98 gold and tan Chevy minivan, and it was found in Charleston, West Virginia, which is about 15 minutes away from the daycare. According to witnesses, the vehicle had probably been there since at least 2 p.m. on the day she went missing. This isn't a best area of town. It is known for some drug activity, and most people just didn't pay attention to the car. They didn't put it together. They just didn't put it together that there was this missing woman, this missing car, and this car parked there. There was also an instance where somebody who knew her saw her car traveling around noon that day. It was a specific with the tan and gold, and it had an American license plate. They noticed it, but they did not see who was driving. They just knew that it was traveling around noon. So very possible that the car was being driven to this location around this time. No idea who was driving it. So that's where the case sat. Not a lot of information, completely disappeared into thin air. You've got the boyfriend to consider. Of course, it doesn't seem like he's ever really became a person of interest, other than to some people, of course, that made the accusation, but it doesn't seem like they've ever placed anything to put him solidly as a suspect. We have both of the children's fathers. They dated her. They were in her life. Always a possibility to look at. Again, they don't seem like this is something that's happened. There is a weird instance of the people she was hanging out with the day prior, but that is including her sisters and brothers, and I'm not sure how many she has of each. I'm sorry, the numbers kept changing. So again, so like maybe the friends they knew, but I think by now they would have kind of figured it out. So here's what I do have. In 2012, a woman was kidnapped and assaulted. It ended up that the person who kidnapped her was her cousin and her cousin's girlfriend. And in February of 2003, Cindy Crothers and her boyfriend Joey Jeffrey were arrested on a drug deal when she admitted that the two of them had kidnapped someone. And that person was, again, Joey Jeffrey's cousin. They were arrested at a Nights Inn hotel, and they are serving time for this. But this is where Melanie comes in. During the trial, Cindy had taken a plea deal of 1 to 5 years as long as she provided all the information she possibly could against Joey Jeffrey for what he did to his own cousin. Why she got this low of a term, I'm not really sure, but this is what they agreed to. And she said under oath that when Joey Jeffrey was threatening his cousin, he made a comment to her and said, "Do you remember Melanie Metheny? I will bury you in the same hole." And then made reference to the fact that his vehicle didn't have enough gas to get to the location. They have never been able to figure out, was he just boasting to add to his threat to his cousin to make her scared, or was it because he knew what happened to Melanie? He is serving a long sentence and will not be eligible for parole for 24 more years. And at this point, he's still just considered a person of interest in her case. In 2016, they did erect a tree of hope in Melanie's honor, and they continue to search for answers. I did find them all on Facebook, and the children seem to be very lovely, well-adjusted with their fathers, and hopefully they're doing well. I'm not going to dig in further. They're still minors. I just really was hoping that they were doing well in light of the fact that they lost their mother at an incredibly young age. They don't have many memories of her, and she just is just gone out of their life so young, and she was so dedicated. And I don't think for a second that they think that she just left them for this long and never came back. Somebody did something with her, and I want to raise awareness for her, especially if you guys know anything. We're talking West Virginia, anything that you guys could think that could connect to it. I think that would be a good theory to try to come up with. So I'm going to insert now a letter that she had written in her journal about her children just a couple months before she disappeared.
My whole life revolves around my 3 kids. My oldest boy, Ryan, is 3. He will be 4 in March. My middle boy is 2. He will be 3 in October. His name is Nathan. My last child and youngest is Hannah. She is 11 months old. She will be 1 year old in March. Ryan is in the Head Start program at Morris Enrichment Center, a church in Canal City. He goes 2 days a week, and he does great. He is so smart. He comes home and tells me about his day and all the kids in his class. I was only 16 when I had him, and I had no clue how to take care of a baby. But when I saw him for the first time, it just hit me, and after that, it all came natural. Nathan is my spoiled boy. He slept with my fiancé and me until he was almost 2, so it's hard leaving him every day to go to school. He goes to daycare every day, and he normally breaks my heart every morning. He gives me this pathetic look like it's the end of the world, and as soon as he sees me start to leave, he starts screaming. It kills me every time. But when I pick him up at the end of the day, his daycare teacher always says he does great, and he sees me, grabs his coat, and doesn't look back. Hannah is my only little girl, and she is the sweetest thing you'll ever meet. She looks like me when I was a baby. She is not shy. She'll go to anyone, and she'll smile you to death. Her daycare teachers tell me every day that she never even cried. She's just learning to walk, and it's so cute. She will walk with you holding her hand, but as soon as you let go, she will take a step, realize you're gone, and get excited, and it looks like she's trying to jump instead of walk. Being a single mom is not easy at all, but watching my kids grow up and watching them learn new things for the first time is the greatest feeling I've ever had. I would not change them for the world, and I don't know where I'd be right now if I didn't have them, but I know my life wouldn't have as much meaning.
And lastly, before I go, I need to give you guys an update. Gregory Waddell Morales, I told you in my last video, they located his body. He had been buried. I'm just going to let you guys know this now. They found more bones. Days later. I believe, please don't quote me, I'm working this out, I'm going through the comments. I believe that these bones were found when they were putting down a memorial cross, and then they found more bones. Didn't you all think that when they showed up to a crime scene and they found bones, that like the whole crime scene got like dug up and sifted and checked? Or is that only when they care? Because they left bones. It is possible that these are just more remains from Gregory, which is just like disheartening to me, because like it's bad enough that you found him and you are classifying him as still deserted, so therefore his family has to pay to bring him home. You're not even worrying about the fact that somebody murdered him. It's just like, oh, yeah, he deserted, don't know how he died, and despite the fact that he's buried in a field. So I guess it's not obvious enough that they're going to send him home, but they didn't even finish digging. So now we have more unidentified remains walking distance from where they dug up Gregory, and now we're all sitting here wondering, whose remains are those? Are these more remains? Is it Vanessa? Is it more of Gregory? That is just the saddest thing in the entire world to me. I don't even know how to explain it to you. I'm promoting a GoFundMe so that they can fly Gregory's body home. And then I'm finding out that they don't even have it all. They just, parts of him, like what were they gonna do? There's my anger. Sorry guys, I have things that just really, really piss me off in this world. We have to treat our people better. We have to do more. I just don't get it. We have all these platforms and all these ways and all these missing children that people don't even know are currently missing. Currently, just they could be anywhere. And we're not doing a good enough job. We're not doing a good enough job. So that's why we're doing this, right, guys? All right, cool. So I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for being here. I say this at the end of every one of my videos. I love you guys. Do me a favor, hug your babies and hug your loves. Life is literally precious. Enjoy every minute of every day. Don't take anything for granted. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.